What I'm going to show you in this video is going to change your design workflow in Divi 5. All right, so Canvases was released recently, but for some of us, we're not sure what we can use these canvases for. But I have something really exciting. So over here, I have a few designs. So this is the first design that I did. So as you can see, it's a clean layout, but I wanted to try different versions and see which one actually works better for me. So what I did was I used the canvases for me to visualize these. So here's another version here. And if I go back to my canvases, here's the darker mode. And then I thought to myself, maybe I don't want this layout. I want maybe the image here in the background. How about that? So if I come back over here and I click on this, you can see now we have an image there in the background. And by the way, you can also do previews of these. In fact, let me save first and then do a quick preview. So as you can see here, we can see all our designs and we can cycle through them. This saves us a lot of time. Think of it like a bit like Figma, with different type of views to do, because back in the day I used to use Figma before to design first before I go into Divi 5. But this is slightly better because I can view all my different versions. Okay, and that's really cool. So let's dive in and let me show you how I came up with all of this. And we are going to start from scratch. So each and every one of these can actually be deleted. So we're starting off here with a blank canvas. So we're going to start off by adding a single column. And in this column, we're going to add a few elements. So we're going to start off with a text like that. Then the next item I'm going to add in is a heading. So I'm going to come over here. And then after that, I'm going to add a text module. So let's search for it. And here we go. And then finally, we're going to add two buttons that are side by side. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and add a group, because these buttons need to be in a group for me to position them correctly. And I'll be using Flexbox, by the way, to position this. So now I can add my button and duplicate this button as well. So while we're here, I might as well go in and make some changes to my buttons. So I'm going to select the group settings. And then over here in the design, I'm going to go to layout and then make sure that I change my row from column to row. Okay. Next, I want to make sure that these are centered as well. That's very, very important. The next thing I'm going to do now is to make sure all my text here is centered. So I'm going to select it and then I'm going to go into my text here and make sure that it's centered. I'm going to do the same thing with the heading. I'm going to come over here, go to my heading text, make sure it's centered. And then finally, I also have this paragraph here that I also need to center. All right, so now that everything is centered, this is where the professional designer now kicks in by using the spacing scale and also making sure that our text on this page or on this design is also fluid, okay? So you're going to notice that throughout this process, I will not be using specific numbers for my design. So let's start off with our, let's call it padding for our main section. So here, normally we would go into spacing and then add padding here. And sometimes we can say, okay, let me add it as rams or m's or percentage or v. No, we're not going to do that. Check this out. I'm just going to come over here to the top and then I'm going to go for section extra large. So this now gives me a lot of space around my design. Isn't that cool? And by the way, all this is clamp based. You can see here my padding is clamp based, which means that when my screen gets smaller, everything is going to be proportional based on the screen size. All right, so let's move on with our design here. So I want to go to my heading here and make sure that I start adding my content. So for my heading, I'm just going to go in here and paste. Okay, so that's going to be my heading. Okay, I'm also going to capitalize the other letters or the other words. All right, so now that my heading is done, I'm going to go in now and make sure I choose my size. But this size is going to be based on my preset. So I'm going to come over here to heading and then click on this drop down. Now notice that I have all these options. I'm going to go with, let's try heading 2. Okay, so that's my heading 2. Now, at any point, I can always come in here, change this to heading 1. I can get rid of the other presets here. But you see, it doesn't just end there. I also have other headings. So I also have heading large. Look at that. Now that looks really, really nice. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go with heading large. Okay. So let's get rid of heading 1 here. Okay, fantastic. So let's just test this so I can show you that by choosing this. And by the way, over here, you notice that this is based on clamp. Okay, it's clamp based. I don't need to go in and add specific numbers here. Nope, I just need to choose my presets and we're good. All right, so what I'm going to do next now is just to show you that this is responsive. Look at that. You see the text size? You see the text size? It's all automatic, you know? So this is the proper UI way of designing. This is what UI designers design like. Okay, so let's move on to adjusting the other text. So over here, I'm just gonna go in and grab a bunch of text like that. I'm gonna copy that and then just populate this by coming over here to content and then just replace this like that, okay? Next, I'm gonna come over here. I'm also going to change this text, replace the basic text that I have with this. But in your case, this is of course going to be text that is, you know, meaningful. It doesn't have to be just, you know, this lorem text. I just use this to make things easier for me. Okay. So now that I have this, I'm also going to do the same thing. I'm going to come over here, go to design. And then for my text here, this is going to be label. Boom. Just like that. I've chosen my label. And then here, I'm also going to go in and go to my text here. And this is going to be my body text large. Look at that. But you see, we have a problem because my text here is so wide that I can't really use this. I mean, this is very difficult to read for any user that comes to my website. Okay. This is supposed to be, you know, at least 70 characters. So what I'm going to do, I have another preset. So I'm going to come over here to my row settings and then over here to the top, I'm going to say wide text row. Boom, just like that. And now everything is really easier to read, which is really cool. All right. So with this now, the next step is to make sure that the spacing between these items here is much better. In fact, you know what? I want to show you side by side that spacing is actually very, very important in design, especially if you're a UI designer. I mean, to make this look really nice, you have to have your spacing on point. So I'm going to come over here and duplicate this. Okay. So we're going to go in and say duplicate canvas. So what I'm going to do here is, oh, something weird is happening. Did I not save? Let me refresh because this is a new design. There we go. So if I come over here, there we go. Okay. So this is the duplicate. So I want to go into this one here, the main one, and work on this. So the first thing I'm going to do is to come over here and then go to my spacing. So on the spacing, I'm going to start off with extra small for the top. Okay. So margin top, extra small. Okay. But, okay, this is not working because for you to really visually see everything, let's first of all get rid of all the spacing. So I'm going to come over here to row settings. I'm going to go to layout. In fact, I need to come over here, go to elements, and then go to the column because the column is what has all this information. Okay. The heading, the subheading, the buttons, and so on. So with the column selected, I'm going to come over here to design and then layout. And then I'm going to say gap 0. It's very important we do this because we want to remove all the gaps so that we add our spacing intentionally. Now I'm going to go to this main heading text. And then now I can go to spacing and then say margin top, extra small. And then here, I'm going to go to spacing and then I'm going to say margin top, small. And then over here for the buttons, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go into my spacing and say margin top. Now I can do a margin top medium if I want here like that. And that works fine. But now the spacing is much, much better. Let's save this and let's do a side by side. All right. So just by looking at this, I know it's not very close, but when you look at this, there is a difference. So if I go like that, okay, that's what we have out of the box with Divi without adding all our spacing. No. This is the one with the spacing. And then this is the one without the spacing. Now, do you see the gaps here are just way too much and it's not consistent? And if I go back over here and choose this one, This one here is much better. I'm sure you're going to agree with me on that one. All right. So the really cool thing now is once you have everything all set, for this example, I'm going to delete this because I just wanted to compare between the two. So to have different versions of your hero area, this is what you do. You just duplicate this like that. And then now we're going to further customize this. I'm going to go in here, add a single column, and then this time I'm going to add an image like that. We're going to go into our media library and then choose our image. So I'm going to go with, okay, let's do something different. Let's use this image instead. Okay. Let's say we're designing a website to do with some safari or, you know, a holiday resort or something. Now I'm going to go to design and let's go to border this time. So for our border here, I'm going to go with our border radius, and this is going to be, let's go with small. Okay. Just soften up the edges a little bit. All right. So now we have our design here, and I think this is really, really cool. Right. So there we go. So that's our first version. Okay. So the second version. The first one here doesn't have anything. It's just a plain header. In fact, you know what? Why don't we add just a little slide color here in the background? We're going to go to content and then background. So what's really cool here as well is for our colors, I also have a color system here. Okay. So we're going to go with, in fact, let's do a list of these colors. So we're going to go with gray 50, just a little slight gray, and then save. All right. So now we have this first version here, second version, and we can even further duplicate this. So I'm going to come over here and duplicate canvas. All right. Now we're going to make the duck version. Okay. We're going to select that, and then we're going to start with the background color, and then we're just going to come in here and let's go with gray 900. There we go. Now, all I have to do is to reverse this. I'm going to start here by selecting my text, come over here to design. Now for the label, I'm going to change this to label light. Okay. I should have this label light. There we go. Label light. And then this one here is going to be my heading large, but light. Heading large, light. Here we go. Boom. And then here we need to change this to our body text light. So we're going to come over here, body text, light, boom. All right. And now for the buttons, I forgot to, change or update my buttons here. I can just come over here to the top and then you say primary button, boom. Okay. Now we have a primary button, and then this could be a secondary button if we want to. So I'm going to come over here, secondary button. I know the colors are going to be similar because I haven't changed the colors. All right. So now we have the darker version. I mean, how cool is that? Look at that. I mean, this is beautiful. So what I'm going to do is, for me to do a preview of this version, I'm just going to come over here and make it a main canvas. Okay. So I'm going to say make main canvas and then save. Now, if I do a preview, we can see the dark version. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? So what I'm going to do now, just to prove to you that what I did here is fluid and responsive, I'm going to do an inspect. Okay. And then I am going to make this smaller. I mean, watch the text, watch the image. I mean, just look at this, how beautiful that is. Look at the buttons. Everything has readjusted. Of course, this is beyond this the phone size, by the way, but I think the phone size is right about there, 496. Okay, so that looks beautiful, right? And then as this is getting bigger, everything just readjusts. Okay, so this is really, really cool because you don't have to go in and add specific numbers for your text or your spacing. Everything is done for you using the method that I'm using here. Okay, we also have this version here if you have the lighter version. Now, what's really cool as well, you can go further. In fact, let's come back here. We can go further and do another version. Okay, so while we're here, I might as well do another version. I'm going to duplicate this one here. So I'm going to say duplicate canvas. Right. Let's select that. And then this time I'm going to add an image in the background. Okay. So we're going to go into our content here, background, get rid of this, and then add an image. So for my background image here, I'm going to choose this one and then say upload image. Right. Okay. So that's looking really, really nice, but we need contrast. We need to be able to read what's on our page here. So I want to go again. Go into my text here, and then for my heading large, it needs to be light. Okay, So I'm going to come over here and heading large light. There we go. And then I'm going to come over here as well. Body texts. And then we're going to go for body text light. Oops. This is small. No. I messed up my spacing. Let's just go back in here and fix it. Heading margin top small. Okay. So my text here is not the right one. So let's go back in. There we go. Right. So here we need this main little title here. Change this to light. Boom. Okay. So my text here is lighter on this image, but it's still not good enough because we have contrast issues. So to fix this, I'm going to go to my background. I'm just going to select my main section here. Go to content. And this time we're going to go to background and add a background color. So we are going to go with black. Okay. And then over here on the image, we're going to change the blend mode. So right now it's a normal. We need to multiply. Okay. Now with that selected, I'm now going to go back to my color. And this time, oops, I'm going to change my transparency, bring it down a little bit. You see that? So I'm down to 64. Now, depending on the type of image you have, play around with this and see what best contrast you have. So let's bring it down to, I think we can get away with 60 here. All right. So with that now, I'm almost done with my design. I'm going to go to my button here, change this to primary button, and then do the same over here. This one here is going to be a secondary button. Now my section looks really nice. Let me just add another blank section here so we can have a look at this. Look at that. Now this looks really nice because I've got my contrast all dialed in. I've got my text here, light on a darker background. So everything is looking really nice. Now, if I come back over here to my canvases, I have different options to play around with. I mean, how cool is that? Now, if you want to learn Divi 5 really fast, as you know, Divi 5 has been built from the ground up. This course, Divi 5 Mastery, is going to come to your rescue. As you can see, it's got more than 1,000 students, and this number is growing. The course is only $27. $27. And as I add more lessons to this, you don't have to pay any extra. So by buying this course, you are basically logged into the $27 and you won't pay any extra. And this course is going to be the go-to course if you want to start designing professional looking websites with Divi 5. And I also noticed that you're probably not sure what I was doing when I was designing this page. How was I getting my text right, my spacing right? I use a design system called Krafter. It's only $77. You can use it on unlimited websites. This is what you need to design professional looking websites. You need spacing, you need the right form of typography, and color systems. Everything is in the design system. I'll also link to a video where I talk about this design system in detail. This is a must-have if you're a Divi 5 user. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Support me by purchasing my products. The link to that is in the video description below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.